Hi guys, Zak here. So today's video will be completely taken over by Sania, who is a paranormal survivor just like us. And the video consists of two parts. The first part will be Paranormal Dos and Don'ts by Sania itself, and the second part will be her story. And I bet you guys, the more you watched her story, the creepier it gets. And in case you enjoyed this video, you loved it, make sure to do follow Sania on TikTok channel and give her support.
Paranormal do's and don'ts in my house. We do not leave chairs open and empty. We usually put them under the table or we put something on the chair. And that usually is because, apparently things might be sitting in them, or it's kind of like leaving it open for something to sit in it. We don't have mirrors across each other, and when we do, my mom covers them up. As you can see, there's a mirror behind me, right? But if you see in the mirror, there's another mirror which is in front of me. And I covered that up because my mom didn't want like a big mirror facing this big mirror. Because this can be like a portal. Well, any mirror in a house across each other can be like a portal to invite things in. So I blocked the main big mirror. You could see it again here. There was a mirror and then I covered it because of this mirror. Again, portals and scary things can come through. Black mailbox, or black doors, because that absorbs the negative energy and doesn't allow it inside. Never have a doormat in front of your door that says welcome or come on in, because that allows anything to come through and be invited into your house. My mom always says never sit or walk under trees at nighttime because jinns and witches, hags, or we call them churils, sit or live in the trees at nighttime or something, or they like to hide and linger in there. She also says never open the door at 3 to 6 in the morning, because things can come in, because the door is open, stuff like that, or that's their time, the witching hour. So she never opens the door, or she says we shouldn't be out at this hour. Related to that is never have raw meat with you at nighttime when the sun goes down and it's night, and even in 3 in the morning to 6 in the morning, never have raw meat with you because these things get hungry and they would see that as like a offering or sacrificial kind of lamb, goat, chicken, cow, whatever, and they would come and sniff and have it and eat it, right? So they would follow you. Side note, my grandpa one time walked in Pakistan with raw meat at nighttime, and a ghost or whatever it was literally like slapped him across the face and like tore the bag up while he was walking home at night with raw meat from the butcher shop. My mom also says don't broom at night for some reason. I really don't know where the origin story of that is, but apparently has something related to witches as well, or it can like bring like hags and things in or something. There's some relation. If someone in the comments can message me or say something about what that is. I think this is obvious amongst my followers, but never put a mirror in front of your bed because these things are in mirrors, like it's a portal, right? So, and you're sleeping and these things can watch you sleep pretty much. My mom always says hello to our house every time we come in because a house has energy and it has memories and emotions that it carries, and I think a house is alive in a sense, and if you talk well and treat it well, it will treat you well too. If you're a religious person or just a spiritual person and you have some kind of protection, always put it at the top of your door when people enter. Try to put it like, my mom has like a Islamic like prayer that she puts on top of the front door when people come in. It's like there, and then even in the hallway she has like this big like verse from the Quran on the wall as well, like a protection thing. So always have like protection stuff around most doors, like to enter and leave the house, like a back door or a front door. So a lot of people mentioned this in the comments. We do not whistle, and I started to realize not to whistle even more when I went on like indigenous creatures TikTok. Yeah, I'm not gonna whistle anymore. It's because of skinwalkers. We don't whistle because of that, because they can hear you. And also we don't whistle in, I think, culturally growing up, because spirits and things can hear you and find you easily. This is also an indigenous thing, but I also practice this myself. I don't look outside windows at nighttime. Like, I won't look outside because an indigenous person told me, like, if you look outside at night, it's because someone could be looking right back at you. Or something, actually. We do not play music when we pass by a cemetery. When we're driving and listening to the radio, my mom will turn off the radio or turn down the volume. We also don't laugh in respect to the dead. So when we're driving past, we quiet, pay respect, and just be silent as we are passing by a cemetery. I do this next to funeral homes too. Me and my mom don't like to watch like scary paranormal or scary movies too much in the house, because that is negative energy. They are also saying real things in movies nowadays, and you do not want to listen to that and hear that. So try to mute it if they're doing chanting or casting some kind of thing or reading something. Just mute it. Also, we do not wear perfume at nighttime. Like, I guess if you're going to a wedding and stuff, it's like not a big deal because you're going to like a party. But like if you're coming back at like, again, witching hour, if you wear perfume, cologne, these creatures or jinns or whatever they are, they can come find you easily with smelling that perfume. They like the smell of perfume. If you hear something supernatural or paranormal in your left ear, it is most likely something negative or evil, bad. It's because, you know, the left side is the devil on your shoulder and the right side is the angel on your shoulder, so just think of it in that way. I think this is an obvious thing, but don't go into forests and trees and things like that at nighttime, especially by yourself. But even in general, do not go in like tree foresty areas at night. I think that's like a common normal thing to say. Do not have a messy washroom, because these things like vermin and filth and things like that, so they like to linger around dirty things, so washrooms are one of them. Back home there are a lot of people that do black magic, and even here where I am in Canada, so please be wary of these kinds of people, these aunties, or people in general that don't like you and have things against you. Don't let them near your hair, near your fingernails if you've cut them, just like your items, your personal items, but mostly hair, which is easily accessible. They can find it easily just by even like pulling it or off your shirt even. So try not to have hair around. My mom also doesn't put empty pots outside on the stove or on the counter. She always puts the lid on them, because back home in Pakistan, these creatures and things will look for empty hollow areas to kind of stay and keep their like remnants of lingering just in empty hollow areas. Something about it. I asked my mom. If someone can explain in the comments, I'd appreciate it. But my mom always covers the pots, never leaves them open, or she puts them upside down. When you are on your period, you are not allowed to be in a graveyard, because here's the kicker, guys. You lose iron, you lose blood when you are on your period, right? Ghosts and spirits do not like iron, right? So the more iron you lose, the more susceptible you are to spirits lingering and attaching themselves to you. So I suggest not going into graveyards, cemeteries, while you're on your period, because you are losing blood and you are low on iron, and iron is protecting you against spirits and things. So interesting. This was mentioned in my comments, but yes, it's correct. Do not open the door. If someone is knocking or ringing the doorbell and you peep through or you look through the blinds and no one's there, do not open the door, because once you open it, the spirit is now able to come in. So do not open the door when no one's at the door and you hear a knocking or a doorbell. This one's pretty scary. Growing up, whenever a woman had a baby in my family, they'd keep the baby, newborn baby home for 40 days, I believe. And you would always keep like something silver, like a knife or axe or weapon with you under or near you, because apparently evil spirits and witches, or not witches, hags, will come near the child and try to like attach themselves or try to take the baby away. That's what I remember my mom telling me. And you need that silver or that weapon to protect you. I think this is a given, but do not say demon names, because these are things that once you say their names, they'll hear you and they'll answer your call. You don't disrespect the dead in graveyards, like laughing, like I said in the previous video, or listening to music. There's a thing that my cousin did back then when he was younger, and he peed on a gravestone. And he ended up getting hit by a car literally a few weeks later. And we all were yelling at him, like, why'd you do that? But he didn't care, and he ended up getting hit by a car. And then my friend, she was in high school, and she was like making out with her boyfriend on like a gravestone rock or something, and she got kicked off, like literally pushed off, and they ran out of the graveyard. So don't disrespect the dead. We do not have shoes upside down on the floor that face the ceiling. So like a shoe that's flipped upside down where the bottom of the shoe is facing up towards the sky, because it's disrespectful towards heaven, I guess. So we don't do that. It's like putting your feet on the table, right? Where people are eating, it's disrespectful. We don't challenge or provoke demonic things, because we should let them be. We respect them. They're powerful beings, and just let them be and leave them be. I think this one is pretty obvious, but we do not play with Ouija boards. That is a portal, and that is a door to let anything in, anything. And that is all because of you guys opening that shit up if you play it. So do not touch a Ouija board, and do not communicate with something. There's a lot of things attached to Ouija boards that can really ruin your life. So just leave the Ouija boards alone. It's not a game. It's a real thing. And people get really fucked up from it. So don't do it. All of these things are about respect. We have to respect the dead. We have to respect powerful beings, because they are powerful, and we leave them alone. You have to respect them. They're respecting you living in your homes, you know? It's if you're intruding in their space, then they get angry, you know what I'm saying? So don't like dabble in these things. This house was in Mississauga. I lived there for about 2 years, from 2006 to 2007. We ended up having to move out because of how haunted this place was. So let's get started. So this was the kitchen. This was at the back of the house. This right here is a sliding glass door that leads to the dining room that heads to the front of the house. This right here is where I was standing, right in front of the sink. And I was making my brother a bottle of milk, and my whole family was upstairs getting ready for a wedding or something like that. While I was standing here making my brother a bottle, I heard a creak behind me coming from the glass door. And then I felt this like chill up my spine, and I was frozen in fear. Then, clear as day, I heard on my left side a man in like a deep, demonic, sinister sounding voice say to me, "Honey." I then dropped everything in my hands and bolted out of the kitchen, running and screaming, yelling, "Mom!" And then running down there towards the staircase, I heard boom, 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 big thumps of stomps coming behind me, and I grabbed onto the railing at the bottom and tried to pull myself up. I was so, I felt like there was this force trying to pull me back down, and I grabbed onto the railing and I ran up these stairs to my mom's room right here on the right side. Then I ran up to her and I was hyperventilating, and I was like, "Mom, there's someone," and I was like, literally, like, I couldn't even speak. I was like so much in shock that I was like, I couldn't breathe, and I was telling her, "Mom, I never heard that in my life. Someone spoke to me, and the windows weren't open, nothing, like some man is in the house or something." And we went downstairs and nothing was there. My mom didn't really believe me. And to this day, I still get chills up my spine and quick intrusive thoughts of someone behind me whenever I'm getting a glass of water downstairs in the middle of the night or anything. So, yeah, that really stuck with me. And this is just the beginning of what happened in this house to me. So this one's actually pretty spooky as well. And things will get progressively worse when I tell you these stories because this house was actually terrifying. So anyway, let's begin. I came home from school off the school bus, and all the kids obviously would go home the other way down the street. And I was the only one that walked back this way home. And it was quite a walk to get back to this house. Usually after school, my mom wouldn't be home because she would go pick up my sister. So I was like, okay, and I moved fresh to this house, so I don't really know what's going on. I was just, no kid wants to be home alone. They're kind of scared anyway, but like, this was a new house to me, so I didn't expect anything. I come home, I run to the door just to get in because I had to pee or something, and then I open the door, I go inside, I turn on the TV because I like to hear the TV as I'm home, when I'm alone. And all of a sudden, like right away, I heard footsteps upstairs, like of someone wearing like boots. Footsteps, like heavy boots, and footsteps like going back and forth upstairs in the hallway. This was the upstairs hallway, and I heard someone walking like right down here, just walking back and forth. This is the exact sight that I saw as I was calling my mom to see if she was upstairs maybe. I looked outside in the driveway and her car wasn't there either. So that's when like my blood like went down from my face and like I got scared. I asked again, "Mom?" No one answered. So I grabbed a knife because again, I'm new to the house. I didn't expect a ghost to be there. I grabbed a knife thinking there was like a burglar in the house. I'm walking around the house like, what is going on? And I know what you're thinking. Was it your TV? Well, I thought the same thing, buddy, but it was not. I muted the TV and I was like, hello? And the footsteps happened again. Of like heavy boots. And this is when shit started to get real because I'm like, okay, if no one's upstairs and no one's answering me and my mom's not home and it's not the TV, I thought this something else was upstairs and I am now terrified. My mom comes home right at that moment and sees me shaking and trying to go to the door because I'm trying to leave. And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, Mom, there's someone upstairs. We run upstairs and no one is there. We checked everything. It gets worse after the story, so please stay tuned. So after my mom not believing me once again that I was hearing footsteps upstairs, this is her master bedroom, and I was chilling in here later that night with my sister. This room looks crazy creepy. This looks like some picture taken from like a murder scene or of an abandoned house, doesn't it? Anyway, me and my sister are sitting over there watching TV. My mom is sitting over here on the bed. There is a walk-in closet right there next to the bed on that side. As we were all watching TV, the walk-in closet door just slams shut and really hard and loud, and we're like, what the hell? Okay, like we just laughed it off. My mom would be like, oh, spooky ghost, but we kind of chalked it up thinking it was like wind tunnels in the house or like a window was open and the door would smack shut. But looking back at it now, it doesn't make any sense because our doors were closed, our windows were closed, and even my mom's bedroom door was closed. So where's this wind coming from? And this would happen like all the time. This was like an occurrence that would happen often of the closet door that has like an attic slamming shut all the time. And no one went up that attic too, telling you that right now. Then one of the scariest things happened to me again. But this time my cousin was involved. My cousin and I were watching TV right there in the corner again, and no one else was home other than my sister, who was on the computer in her room. And we're just watching TV and we're like, okay, this movie looks weird. What is this? Like, some woman is on the phone in the house and it's dark. It looked like a regular scary movie, but I didn't recognize the actress. I'd never seen this movie in my life. It just looked like a strange movie. It looked like a very old strange movie. Anyways, we're watching it, and all of a sudden this something just pops up on the screen, and it's not part of the movie, and it's like this like face, like this dead face, this skull, and we just hear screeching and stuff, and me and my cousin start screaming, trying to get out of the frickin' room. We're like screaming, and this thing is screeching on the TV. It's like a dead face or something fucked up. I couldn't even like, it was just black and white stencil of something that looked like that. And we're trying to crawl towards the door, and we felt like this weight on our bodies not letting us move. It wasn't like letting us get to the door, and like we're screaming, and it felt like there was weight holding us down while this thing is playing on the TV, and we're screaming. My sister comes running to the door and opens it, and we're like we are able to move again. We got him. We ran out of the room, and my parents still didn't believe me, which is the craziest thing that have happened to me in my house in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, back in 2007, 2009. Let's begin story 3. So me and my sister would always start to notice things around the house, but we never told each other what we were seeing. I remember one time we both had the swine flu, and we were sitting in this room on her bed. This was her bedroom. My bedroom was right there on that side. But I never slept there because I was so scared, and you'll know why later on. So we were sitting on her bed, and I asked her, "Do you ever see like shadow people?" And she said to me, "Yeah, I do, like all around the house, on the walls, all the time." And I remember looking out right here against this wall. Like I was sitting on the bed, and I looked out on this wall, and I saw something pass by, like a shadow person, right when I said that. And me and her would always say we'd always see these shadow people. And this is a picture of how realistic it looks. So this isn't a picture from like my house or anything. This is like a Google image, but this is what kind of a shadow person looked like in that house against the wall. And I saw a lot. I saw like 3 or 4, but like this is exactly what I would see all over the walls. And my sister would be like, "That's really weird, I see it all the time." And then she started to see like black figures going down the stairs. My sister was in the bathroom, and the bathroom was right next to my room over there, and I was playing with my cousin again, and she was showering, and the light turned off while she was showering, and she's like, "Hey, who did that?" And she came out of the room, and she saw just something black go down the stairs, these stairs right here. She just saw some like black figure run down the stairs, and she thought it was me and my cousin like doing that to her, though we told her we never did that. So there was that, and then she started to hear voices. And I remember one night she woke me up like at like 3 a.m, and she's like, "Sania, I'm hearing like people talking, but I don't know what they're saying." And she was freaking out. All the windows are closed, and we don't live on a busy street, and no one lives with us other than whoever was sleeping. And then I was like, "Okay, let me hear." And then I started hearing people talking. It sounded like a bunch of people talking, but you just don't know what they're saying. And then later on we found out that is like a sign of like spirits in a house or something like that, or a sign of a haunting. And that was really scary, knowing that later on in life. But it was really scary, and we woke up my mom. She couldn't hear it, but me and my sister were hearing it, and her windows like blasted open, and all this wind was blowing in. It was really scary that night. It just gets worse after this, so be prepared. So what happened was new information has come up. That's why it kind of took me a while to bring up the new video. My dad told me a few days ago that the house was owned by an Egyptian priest with his family. And when we moved into the house, there was crucifixes everywhere. Like literally like hanging on doorknobs in every room. There was just like more than usual. And my mom took them all off because obviously, you know, we're not Christian. So she took them all off when we moved in. And that's when things started getting weird, to be honest, I think. Weird drippings on the wall kept coming down on the second floor usually. And it was right outside of my room. And this would come down. Not like this dark, but like pink. And like I thought it was rust or something, but it was coming out of the walls. And like you would think, oh, it's someone smoking, or there was a smoking house. Nope, no history of like family smoking. Like that was like real estate agent was telling us like it's clean and whatever. But like weird shit like this was coming down the walls. Not this dark red, but it was like pink. I remember touching it, and it felt the consistency of blood. And then I remember reading up later on that ectoplasm. and blood mixed together, something like that, turns pink. Something like ghost ectoplasm is like pink because it's mixed with white blood cells and blood. I don't know, something like that, which kind of spooked me. I know I say this on every video, but it gets like progressively worse and worse. I was playing hide and seek with my cousins in my house, and I was looking for her and her brother. We're all playing, and I remember opening the closet door, looking for her. I'm calling her name, and I put my hand in the closet, and I felt the top of like a girl's head, like as if she was sitting in the closet. And I felt this, like I went in, tried to find her, and I was like, calling her name, and my hand touched the top of like a girl's head, and like that is, and the hair was like long and down, and I like literally felt that. I was like, not like, I looked in the closet, I went in the closet, I thought it was her, I thought it was her head. She wasn't there, and then like as if it's a scene from a movie, she's like, Sania, I'm over here. So like, you know that scene in Conjuring where the clapping is in the other room, but it was like that, and my blood dropped from my face again, and I ran out of my room. I ran to her and I'm like, are you serious? Wait, what? And I didn't think deep of it at the time because maybe I'm like, oh, it's a pile of clothes or something, or maybe she was in the closet and then she hid and ran again or tricked me. So my aunt lived in Toronto and we lived in Mississauga, right? My aunt has been dealing with a lot since she gave birth to her son at the time, and so my mom said, hey, why don't you come to our house and stay with us for a few days just to get your mind off of things. So she came over, and the whole time she had to stay in my room. Her and her son stayed in my room the whole time for a few days, but she just stayed there. She didn't talk to anybody, she just was quiet. My mom was getting worried, so she called her brother, and she's like, why don't you come and like take her to your house since it's closer to her house and where her husband is, so you guys can take care of her and see how she is there. Now this is key information that you have to remember what I'm going to tell you right now. My sister goes to bed at like maybe 8 p.m. and my uncle ends up coming over at 9 p.m. Okay? My sister falls asleep at 8 p.m. and she doesn't know my uncle came over because she's asleep, so my uncle comes over at 9 p.m., okay? We're telling him my aunt's being a little weird and stuff, and she just maybe wants to stay over near her house or something, or a different environment, so she ends up going home with my uncle that night. That same night, me and my mom started talking about how weird things have been since she came over, just the vibe, the energy, and how weird she's been acting. And so my mom ends up calling like a witch doctor from back home in Pakistan. She calls him and she tells him a little information about her, but what he told us kind of scared us. He said that someone had done black magic to my aunt back home in Pakistan, to my aunt, and that's why things have gotten really bad for her around that time. Someone was jealous of my aunt and her husband's marriage, and she did something. So my mom and me are pretty spooked, and we're like, okay, let's just call it a night, let's just go to bed. Mind you, I slept in my sister's room on a mattress on the floor. I didn't sleep in my room that night. The next day, my sister wakes up in the morning and she brushes her teeth and everything, and then she checks my room and sees my aunt sitting on my bed looking at her like this. My sister's like, okay, and she closes the door. Didn't think much of it, and she went downstairs and she went on the computer. I wake up maybe an hour or two later and I run downstairs and I tell her what happened like last night. Like, oh my god, someone did black magic to our aunt, like this and that, and you know, and she's like, well, where is she? I'm like, she went home last night. My sister's like, what are you talking about? I just saw her upstairs on your bed looking at me. And her face, like, blood dropped down from her face and everything, and she's like, Sania, no, I saw her. Yeah. She's like, I saw her on your bed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, she went home last night, and I kept telling her she went home last night. She's like, I saw her on your bed looking at me. And so we went upstairs, we ran upstairs, but first we woke up my mom and we kind of told her fast like what was happening and stuff, and we all three of us went to the door and we opened my door to my room, and we saw no one on my bed, but the blanket and everything looked as if there was someone that had been sitting there, which was really scary because my mom like did did the bed after she left, but it's just kind of scary. Knowing something was mimicking her to look like her or something. My sister was fully awake when she saw my aunt on my bed. But the next thing that happens is really scary because my dad was like, "You're not sleeping on the floor on the mattress again. You're gonna sleep in your bed tonight." So I had to sleep in my bed that night, and that was probably something that sticks with me a lot. I'll tell you in the next story. I just woke up from a nap. Sorry. So my dad was like, "You're sleeping in that bed tonight." The same day, all in the same day, you know, my sister seeing my aunt on my bed, and then later on, me having to sleep in that bed that same night. And this is the part that is the most scariest of this story. I'm in bed, and I'm so scared. My dad's like, "You're sleeping in your bed tonight," and he like was making me sleep there. He's like getting mad. He's like, "Why are you so scared?" He never believed any of this stuff, so he's like, "Sleep in your bed." I was like, "Okay." And I'm in bed, and I'm like terrified. I'm so scared, and I'm alone in my room, obviously, and all of a sudden I hear just like people talking. And then my dad was like, "If you're ever scared, just say a prayer." So I started saying this prayer from the Quran, because, you know, we're raised Muslim, and I started to say a prayer under my breath, and I was like, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And like I'm saying it, but I kept getting cut off by the sound coming from underneath my bed on my left side going, like this thing would keep going. I would start saying the prayer and it'd go, and I'm like, and I just stopped. I couldn't say the prayer. I couldn't finish it. And I am frozen and paralyzed in fear on my bed. And I'm like looking straight up, and I'm hearing the coming from under my bed. And then my bed started to like rumble. There's no washroom underneath my room, like on the first floor, so there was no like nothing to do with pipes. My bed started to like do like this, and the lights started flickering, and I'm still hearing like and stuff coming from under my bed, and I'm like trying to say a prayer in my head at least, and I'm still like these things are happening, and I yell out for my sister's name, and I'm like, "Come here, please." And like I jumped off the bed right when she came to my door, and I jumped off, and I never slept in that. I didn't sleep in that bed the whole time we lived there. We lived there for 2 years. I don't live there anymore, but that's I like slept in my sister's room the whole time. The only time I went in my room was when I had to change my clothes for school and look in my closet, which I was even scared to do. There are more stories, but this one still sticks with me. And yeah, I can't go to bed without covering my like left ear and stuff when I go to sleep because I'm so scared of hearing that thing again. It kind of like messed me up. So this is like a common experience. I think this is like an indigenous thing, and I will go further into the indigenous mythical creatures later on because I've realized Mississauga is it's like native land. It's indigenous land. It's I mean the whole country is, but I mean like they back in the day they sent all the indigenous people and native people to Mississauga, which I was reading up, and then I started to think about other things that have been popping up in the house, and a lot of things are like related to indigenous creatures. Like I don't want to say the name, but there are things like Wendigo or skinwalkers or things like that. But this is really scary, so just stick with me. So I was upstairs and it was a snow day, and my mom, I don't know where she was, and I know that my sister was upstairs in her room and I was in mine, and I had to go pee. I went to go to the washroom, and then I remember my mom calling me downstairs saying, "Sania, come down, like, I made food, you know, Sania, come down, I made food." And I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna go. And then I'm like, "Yeah, Mom," right? I said, like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm coming. My mom's like, "What?" And I'm like, where's that coming from? She's like, what? And my mom's like in her room upstairs. And I go to my mom's room and I'm like so scared because I'm like, I just heard her calling me from downstairs and now I'm going to her room. I go in her room and it's my mom. It is my mom. But then I'm like, who's downstairs? And why did I hear my mom calling me downstairs to come down to get some food? So I just kept that to myself. And I just stayed upstairs till like someone else went downstairs. And so I didn't tell anyone that until years later. But that, like, a lot of things have happened to me in that house that I later on I'm like, oh, that was actually really scary and fucked up. But like, at the time I was like, oh, that's weird. But like, I'm a kid, right? So I didn't think much of it. I would just be like, oh, maybe my mom, maybe that was someone else. Like, maybe that was outside. Maybe my mom said that and then maybe she just forgot. I don't know. Like, a lot of things, my brain didn't see the severity of it until years later. That's how it is. But that is really fucking scary when you think about it. Because who was calling me and mimicking my mom? This one is really... yeah, you don't want to look in mirrors anymore after this. Okay, so I'm gonna explain it as simple as I can. I am standing in my room next to my bed. This is me standing next to my bed. My bed is right here. Okay? My bed is over there. I'm standing next to my bed. Across from me is a dresser, and it has a mirror. The mirror on top of a dresser. I look across into the mirror and I see my bed, the reflection of my bed. But then I see a girl in a white gown and long black hair standing on the other side of the bed, looking at me. And I'm like, I thought that was my reflection, but then I realized that she's on the other side. You know, it's not. My reflection would show that I would be on like this side. But I look in the mirror and I see a girl over there on the other side of the bed next to it. And I immediately look at my bed and no one's there. And then I look in the mirror and she's not there. And I thought that was like my eyes playing tricks on me. Maybe I watched a scary movie or something, but no, that's what I saw. And like, again, I'm telling you, as a kid, I rationalized everything because I was like, ghosts aren't real. These things are in the movies. Like, it's all about, you know, now as I get older and I've experienced these things, it's insane that this thing has happened to me and I didn't even freak out in that moment. I was just like, maybe that was me. Maybe I just saw, like, I don't know. So my sister was upstairs on her computer and I was downstairs watching TV alone. My parents were out. I'm lying down on the couch facing the TV. There's an armrest on that end and there's an armrest behind me where I'm resting my head. And during one of the commercials, I remember hearing weird creaking footsteps, like coming as if someone was coming into the living room. And then I remember watching TV and then looking down where the armrest is, where my feet are, as I'm lying down this way, and I see like that same girl in the white gown, but she's like in crawling position, hiding behind the armrest. She's like this, like literally like this, and all I see is like this behind the armrest where my feet are. I slowly pull my feet back and I look at the TV again because I'm like, what? Like, I'm just like, what are these things? What is this? I look at the TV, I look down, she's gone. And I call my sister down. I'm like, Roxar, can you come? And I literally, like, I got up and, like, ran to the staircase. I didn't even want to touch the floor. I went around and I went up the staircase. I like, climbed over the fence because I didn't even want to go near, like, where that entrance was and where the sofa end was. Yeah, that was really scary. But it doesn't stop there. Another time I was watching TV and I was watching, like, I don't know what it was. It was like some Batman or something. It had the Joker in it. Some kind of character that was laughing. And I remember hearing in the back of the TV, like, around me, I hear like that kind of sound, like, ha ha, oh, in like a deep voice. And I'm like, is that the TV? And I pause it, and I'm still hearing it coming from like that dark living room over there. And it wasn't the TV. So then I had to call my sister. I'm like, I was like paralyzed in fear, and I had to call my sister. And I didn't even want to say it because I'm still hearing the laughter of this sinister man saying like that kind of shit. I'm like, Roxar. That's my sister's name. And literally, she's like, what? At the staircase again. I jump off the sofa and I get over the stairwell and I just like run upstairs. I didn't want to go near the dark room over there, and I just ran upstairs. My sister and me were looking through her photos on her phone, and we completely forgot we took that picture at Eglinton and Mavis, right? And then we look at the picture and we see something. She zooms in, and we see like the shed, that weird house thing in the middle of the forest, but we see like this tall like thing on top of this shed, and it looked like he was dressed very like soldier like, but he looked like a soldier from like hell, and he didn't have a head, but he had like a long sword, and he was like red like soldier, and he was like had no head. And we're like, what the hell? It was like him standing, but like we didn't see a head, it was just a body. And my sister and me were like, was that there before? I didn't see anything when we zoomed in. And yeah, like he looked like he was wearing armor. Like soldier, I meant armor. Anyway, we're like, that's weird. And so we just were like, okay, let's just go on with our lives. And then we started to notice bruises on her body. We started like noticing that more bruises were coming up on our bodies since we saw that picture. We didn't bump into anything. We weren't even like doing anything that was physical, like crazy. Like I started to get bruises on my arms, bruises on my legs, and so was my sister. And we were telling my mom, we're like, Mom, we keep getting bruises on our body since we went there and took that picture. And my mom saw the picture and she was just like freaked out. She's like, delete it now. Just delete it. No, delete it right now. And like that is like really weird. That's the end of that story, but let's go meet my sister now and have her confirm all these things because I know you guys are curious. For the sake of her privacy, I won't put her on the camera, but can you confirm that all these events are true?
Yes, they are. They happened in Mississauga.
And this was around 2007 to 2009, and she's seen things and heard things, and so have I, right?
Yep.
And the bruises thing is real, right?
Yes. My mom forced us to delete the picture, and as soon as we deleted it, the bruises were gone.
Yeah.
The next day.
Thank you. This is about when we moved out of that house. I would like to answer 2 or 3 questions. We only lived there for 2 years. We left because it was haunted and also a negative space, and we just didn't belong there. We weren't happy there, and we just wanted to leave. 3, we didn't tell the real estate agent because my parents were in charge. I was just a kid. I'm only 11 or 12, so my parents obviously are not going to tell the real estate agent what their kid is seeing and believing and stuff like that. So there's that. So we didn't really tell anybody because only the kids experienced it, not the parents. So anyway, my dad and sister had already left in the truck with most of everything that was in the house, and so there was only a few things left in the garage. My mom and me stayed and started packing some extra things in the car, and we turned off all the lights in the house, and the house was empty. It was really weird feeling. I remember as we were leaving, the garage light wouldn't turn off, and my mom's like, oh, this isn't turning off, we have to turn it off because we're gonna, like, it'll just stay on and we still have to pay the bill for it or something. And I remember I was trying to turn it off, and I'm like, it just won't turn off. We're trying to leave and the light won't turn off. And I remember my mom saying something along the lines like, the switch panel, the light panel's in the basement, maybe we should go in the basement and switch it off. And I looked at her like, are you insane? Like, I would never go there. And this, like, I've seen enough horror movies, and I'm I'm the smart one in the situation. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. I don't know why she said that. I don't know what made her say that. It was really weird. And I just looked at her like, we're not doing that. And we just left the light on. We're like, fuck this. And we just went in the car. And as we were driving away, I looked back in the garage and the light turned off. And it's as if like this thing made my mom say go in the basement, and it made us like want to go in there and turn it off or something, because the basement's like empty and creepy, and like it turned off as its like last chance, like, oh, I guess they didn't fall for this trick or something. It was just really creepy. But yeah, I looked back and the light like switched off, and I remember trying to turn it off, like, but it switched off as we left. There's more scary stuff that happens after this as we left, but not in the house. You'll see. Okay, guys, this is my dad, and we're gonna ask him why he didn't believe me the whole time when we lived there in Mississauga. So why didn't you believe me?
Because most likely on the weekend you guys come over in Toronto and I stay there alone. And nobody bothered me. Yeah, I never have any issue.
Mm-hmm.
What is the why? How come I believe on you?
So you didn't experience anything when we lived there?
No.
You didn't see, hear, feel anything?
No.
Did mom ever believe or see, hear anything?
Maybe she does, but I was alone.
Most of the time?
When you guys go to Toronto.
Yeah.
And you come back 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And I never see anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Okay, so my mom doesn't want to be on camera, but I'll explain what she was saying. She'll confirm it from here. I asked her, I'm like, why didn't you believe it? And she's like, later on realizing that it was a negative house. A lot of bad things happened there. A lot of negative energy was there, and we would always be fighting. There would all be like health issues that would come up when we lived there. And there was always something negative happening, like all the time. Right, Mom?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So my mom is confirming that too. My brother like had a really scary thing happen in that house.
Caesar.
Yeah, seizure, not Caesar. Yeah, he had a seizure there in that house, and like my sister developed some health issues in that house too at the time. Everyone's fine now, but like that house kind of was affecting everybody in a negative way. I was getting bullied at the time, and I was like, dealing with a lot at school and at home. Like, I didn't want to be at school and I didn't want to be at home because one place was haunted, one place had rude people. So yeah, it was really bad. And we only lived there for 2 years and then we left. I will tell you a story about when we left, because that one's actually really scary too. But yeah, hopefully that gives you more information about all this.
Yeah.
My mom, I was telling her actually later on here that, like, remember the door would slam in your room? And she's like, yeah, that's true. And then she even remembered one thing, that when my sister was hearing those voices in the house, like a bunch of people talking, my sister at like 4 a.m, 3 a.m, jumped on my mom while my mom was asleep. And she's like, Mom, I'm hearing people talking, but I don't know what they're saying. Right, Mom?
Yes. And she jumped on me. I got so scared. What's going on? It's so scary. I got panicked too. Like, what's going on? I start reading Surah.
She started reading the Quran around the house, and things kind of calmed down here and there, but like it was just so strong. So we ended up moving for also that reason too.